Well, Joe, for my perfect classic quiche, I've chosen to do leek with smoked haddock. I just love the way that combination works together, and it's really delicious.
Sounds like a gorgeous combination. Well, my perfect classic quiche isn't that. It's actually going to be a quiche Lorraine.
Oh, wow.
It's a real childhood favourite. It's got the nice crispy pastry, but I'm flavouring it with something just to make it a little bit different, putting some sun-dried tomatoes in. So really, it's the pastry I want to do first. So I've just got some plain flour.
Absolutely.
So we've got flour in, got some nice chilled butter. I've got some sun blush. You can use sun blush or sun-dried. It's not too many. I'm only going to put about a tablespoon in, but just finely chop them. And it's nice just to have that bite of the tomato, really, because sometimes you get tomato in quiches, don't you? I think it can go a little bit soggy.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, if you're going to put that in the pastry, you've got to allow for the wetness of the tomatoes with the moisture you put in, I guess.
Absolutely, you need to put just less moisture, so I'm going to put less water in there than perhaps I would have done without the tomato.
Okay.
But it's nice with herbs if you wanted to put herbs in instead of the tomato. We've got 1 egg yolk, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of water for now.
OK.
Because, as you know, you can always add, but you can't take away.
Absolutely.
And then a good pinch of salt.
Good. But this is classic, though. I mean, how do you think the judges might feel?
I hope the fact that it's a quiche Lorraine is a classic dish. They don't take it as a sort of, oh dear, she's gone a bit too classic with too much of a twist.
After blitzing, Jo kneads her pastry and rolls it out. She then lines her tart case.
So you just sort of press it into the edges, and I'm going to leave some of the pastry overhanging on the edge, because then once it's baked,
you can cut that off.
You can just trim all of that off.
The pastry is then ideally left to chill in the fridge for 30 minutes before covering with scrunched-up baking parchment and dried lentils to prevent the pastry collapsing in the oven.
And this is called blind baking, so you're basically cooking the pastry case without the filling in. You can use lentils, lamb or rice, or you can buy those ceramic baking beans, which are fantastic. Actually, if you just prick a few holes in there, do it with a fork or with a knife, and it just releases any of the air from the pastry so it doesn't puff up too much while you're cooking it.
Jo blind bakes her pastry case for 15 minutes at 180 degrees, then removes the paper and lentils and bakes for a further 5 minutes to crisp up the base. She then moves on to her filling.
I have a frying pan. Just add a trickle of oil. I'm using some smoked bacon lardons, which I really like that smoky flavour in a quiche. You can use just the unsmoked, but I think the smoked gives it a really nice warm flavour to it. And using the lardons rather than sliced streaky bacon. And just finely dice my onion. And then I'm going to fry that in the oil that the bacon will have left behind, if it has. If it's not left much, I'll just add some more to it.
Nice. So you get all that flavour kept within the ingredients.
Yeah. I mean, classically, quiche Lorraine doesn't necessarily have to have onion in it. I know when the Second World War, it was really used as a sort of a cheese and egg tart, just as a very cheap dish to do. I like the onion.
So if you're a vegetarian, perfect. You know, just take away the bacon, just do exactly the same with the onion, and then put the cheese in.
Yeah.
And you've got a vegetarian solution to your quiche Lorraine.
It is nice with the bacon in there.
Oh yeah, no, crikey.
Whilst Jo's lardons cook down, Michael gets started on his haddock and leek quiche.
Like you, I'm using a short pastry.
Michael starts by adding plenty of butter and sifted plain flour to a food processor.
And to this, I'm going to add some sugar and a fair bit of salt in there.
Sugar?
Yeah. It's nice to bring a little bit of sweetness to savoury. And when you season, you're using all of your sensation on the palate. A little bit sweet, sour, and think of it like that.
Michael blends the dry ingredients first, then adds eggs and water before blending again and bringing the pastry together. It needs to chill for half an hour before lining a tart case and chilling again. Michael has his own method for blind baking.
There's a little difference. I've really fully loaded this, like you did, but right up to the top. And I'm really insistent that you bring all of that rice to the top and to the edge so it stops the edges from collapsing.
Right.
So the more weight you've got in there, the flatter the pastry's going to be.
And you're creating a really even temperature, I suppose, around the whole of the pastry.
And we're going to let that bake. Now, unlike you, I'm going to bake this at 160 for about 25 minutes. And because it's lower temperature, it dries out slowly and you end up with a much more even colouring. So I'm looking to a really, really dry base because when I add all that moisture in, the first thing it's going to do is absorb it.
I'm getting nervous about mine now.
Well, no.
That makes sense, doesn't it? Cook it for longer on a lower temperature and then it will just be really crunchy.
Yeah. I've got this wonderful piece of smoked haddock here, and all we're going to do is going to poach that in some milk. And we're going to put it upside down, like so, and we're going to retain that milk, and that milk is actually going to be used in the mixture to then put into the quiche itself.
Brilliant.
So get all that flavour from there. So I'm using smoked undyed haddock. Always use the undyed, it's much more natural.
With the smoked haddock poaching, Michael adds a knob of butter to a hot pan and then adds chopped onions, garlic, leek, salt and white pepper.
So we're just going to sweat down the onion, leek and garlic, and then we're going to just, when this is cooked, just remove it, and then we're going to pick it up, mix it all together, let it cool a little, and then put it into the tart.
Gorgeous.